minimizing charisma, maximizing intelligence, shooting someone in the crotch with a cannonball, thrust, propulsion. It's science-y.
Why you always gotta be blowing my spot up like that? There are my runes. There they are. I'm not mad. Science needs art and art needs science. They both need each other to function.
Chat. Some have said that we've never seen the full intro, nor will we ever see the full intro. Hello. Welcome to space. And to office hours, a live component of the facility in which I open up my blast doors somehow to space. You were in an airlock, don't worry about it. And we explore and explain everything underneath the stars and beyond, and today is in the beyond category. Chat, how is everyone doing today? I'm over-caffeinated. I slept too late. Kind of feel bad. But no worries. For today I woke up and I saw a headline that said that galaxies like the ones you see behind me shouldn't exist. What the heck does that mean? Well, to get into it, we must bring ourselves first inside the facility. Oh, jeez. Landing quicker and quicker these days, chat. Hello. I'm your scienceman, Kyle Man. And for the next hour or so, we're going to go over everything in the world of science, specifically about these galaxies that shouldn't exist. If you want to join me every day for this kind of thing, that's patreon.com/KyleHill. It is actually our 3-year channelversary today, chat. I returned to the facility 3 years ago today, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Welcome to all my facility members in the chat. Billy, Chef, Jason, Bran, Go Home Raj, Peeper Leviathan. Of course, if you really want me to see something like I'm looking at my monitor right now, you can always try a super chat. I can't promise that I'll get to everything as we're doing it live and I'm taking your comments and questions live. But know that even if I don't get to it, it goes towards our nerdy mission of exploring and displaying. Just like Stephen Smith with a 10, I don't know what to do with myself in an office hours not about conspiracies. Let me be clear, I don't think there's a conspiracy going on in our latest office hours. Chat. Fun fact. There has never been a widely ideated conspiracy that many people believe that was out in public knowledge that has ever come true. Hyped up intro, I love it, says Elijah with the 5. Keep being the best scienceman, Kyleman. Happy 3 years to the channel. But we all know you've been on it much longer. I've been science communicating in a professional capacity for almost 10 years now. Which makes me an expert, I suppose. Of course, I'm not an astronomer, I'm not a cosmologist, so we will do our best in elucidating today's news about galaxies that shouldn't exist. And I've been watching a lot of Richard Feynman lately, chat, and it's been making me think about how to present scientific topics and how to talk about them. And you might start to notice that influence the way I speak a little bit. I don't know. I go through phases of science communicators where I listen to certain people talk or not. Alton Brown had a big influence on how I speak and how I, structure sentences, etc., etc. But I'm feeling very Feynman-y today. Yes, chat, if you're noticing, I am wearing my Karl from Die Hard outfit. Anyway, 3 years on the channel, 3 years of office hours, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon, chat. In fact, I can't, or else I'll die. So chat, as we go through today's topic, throw stuff onto my monitor here We'll get to it. We'll explore it and explain it as best we can. Where does one go to watch Richard Feynman, says Fire Era? Well, he's now passed. But his famous series of introductory to physics lectures are all online. Just search for Feynman lectures on YouTube and you'll find it. Kyle, do you have any quick book recommendations? Says Nico Burgos. A Short History of Nearly Everything is the name of the book. It's a good one. So, chat. My daddy is Darth Vader, says Gary. Okay. You weirdos. Cut the music. Kevin's on point today. Stephen Smith with another 10. Last week's stream has been a valuable resource to share with some of the more worried people in my life. Thanks, says Stephen Smith with the 10. Facility lore video when, says Jack Manson. The time will come. Yeah, as more and more news, since we covered it, the Ohio train derailment, as more and more news starts to come in, it's hard to take the scientific position that I've been taking, which is based on the data. It doesn't seem to be an environmental catastrophe, one of the worst in history, as people are saying. But then you have people coming out saying they have symptoms, their voice sounds weird, they smell stuff. And so it's hard, being a dispassionate, science-oriented person, to say, well, those symptoms could be coincidental, psychogenic, nocebo, and we'd have to do a toxicology report to see if it was directly related. And when you say that to people who have a high connection to the event, very emotional about the event, maybe they lost time at work, they had to leave their home, it's hard to say things like that to those people. But we press on. Harley Quinn with the 5.
Harley? Hey there, Bats. This is Harley.
Rating 1 to 10, Jet. Would there be any benefit to sending a telescope like the Webb telescope to the outer rim of the solar system? This is Harley Quinn with the 5. Well, it can already see so well that I don't think a few extra tens of millions of miles is actually going to make a difference when you're looking at stuff that is billions of light years away. 3rd anniversary is Crystal. Get yourself a bulk pack. It says dead card with a 13. I don't know what that means. Jay Reed says psychosomatic. Yes, symptoms that are highly susceptible to perception. 3, 2, 3, 4, 6 out of 5, 3. Joker, 7 out of 10. I'll take it. Chat. What you are seeing behind me,
Mr. J.
What you're seeing behind me. I like doing voices if you didn't know that. These 6 images that you say, how do I turn off slow mode, says Not Merchick. Nobody tell him. These 3 red dots that you see behind me, I'm covering up one with my absolute girth, are galaxies that should not exist. Why? Well, it's because of how big they are and how far they are away. But to get some understanding of why something shouldn't exist, we should first establish how we think things do exist, or else that kind of language means nothing. Please do your best Joker impression. I just did. Hey, Kyle, love the Kyle. What area of science would you say you most gravitate towards, the Skylar P with the 10? I think physics. With my engineering degree, it's very physics heavy, and so I don't know. I like forming large conceptualizations of how the universe works, and physics is good for that. So, chat, to know why these galaxies shouldn't exist, we need to know how things exist in our universe. Now, usually, you will see the progression of the universe, the birth of our universe, like this. Almost every single infographic you see looks like this. For those of you who are only listening, too bad. But it is almost always shown like this, with the Big Bang, the point at which the universe was created, an infinite amount of mass and energy in a infinitely small point that didn't even really have dimensions, expanding outwards in fractions of a second. And then inflation, what we call inflation, takes over, expanding the universe over time into what we know it today. Now, when I just had a brainwave today, chat, which is, whenever I look at an infographic like this, it shows the progression of the universe, it always makes me feel like we should be back at the end point, right? Like, if it expanded out from that point, why, when we look to the night sky, why don't we see? Why do we look back in time? You know, what I'm getting at, I'm saying a lot of incorrect things. What I'm getting at is these timelines don't help me very much. Until you realize, which I don't know, we all know this, I suppose, but I had to reconceptualize it in my head for today's stream, is that the Big Bang literally happened everywhere, and every place is the center of the universe, because the center of the universe was once an infinitely small point. Everything is the center of the universe, including you, Karen. I am the manager. Now, when I say that, I mean to contrast this image with an image more like this. That's the present. Time since the Big Bang. Now, and again, it shows, like, the way I now think about this. The universe was once, before the Big Bang, an infinitely small point, we believe, and then expanded in all directions, which makes us the center of the universe. Every point in the universe is the center of the universe. And so the beginning of the universe is now the furthest away from us. Right? Imagine a shell, this point expanding in a shell outwards. And so the beginning of the universe should be on the furthest outside of this shell. And as the universe progressed in time, that's when the evolution of the universe is happening, closer to us, right? Okay? I know I'm saying things that we all kind of understand, but I'm trying to reorient your thinking about it, because it's going to be important for these galaxies that don't exist, okay? So that's why when we look at the night sky, we see on that image there the cosmic microwave background radiation in all directions, everywhere. And it's equal. And it's homogeneous, meaning that it has the same structure everywhere. Or homogeneous, if you're nasty. That implies that that was all causally linked at some point, or close enough to be causally related, which leads back to what the Big Bang predicts, right? If that cosmic microwave background radiation was once very, very close enough to be causally linked, that is to say, it can affect itself, cause and effect, then when it expands outwards, it should be on that outermost edge. And that's what we look at in the night sky. That's the furthest away. Okay? Then why is the universe not infinitely big, says Just Daniel? It is. Or it will expand forever. This is just what we can see from that amount of time ago. So if the Big Bang happened 13 billion years ago, that outermost first point on this slice of the universe you're looking at That's the edge of the observable universe. If the universe is expanding, what is it expanding into? Says New Yoda. Itself. I know. Weird, right? So when I say all this, I'm meaning that when we look at the night sky, this is a better representation, in my mind, of how things evolved. Because if everywhere was the center, and then this point expanded outwards in all directions, the oldest part will be furthest away from us. And so at the edges, we see the cosmic microwave background radiation, the afterglow from the Big Bang itself. And then over time, from that edge, closer to us will show how the universe evolved over time, how stars formed from gas and dust, how stars started to attract each other into galaxies, black holes forming, etc., etc. All this is to say, chat, that at the very edge of what we can see, we don't expect to find stuff that took time to evolve, like stars, like galaxies. We believe that in this spherical cosmic timeline we're looking at, that galaxies like ours, like the Milky Way, didn't start forming until about 1 billion years. 1 to 2 billion years after the Big Bang. Here's an image of this kind of inflationary model here. Now, what I want you to notice is how consider all these squiggly lines, photons of light. Now, see that as they expand, they go from bluer to redder. And that is what we call redshift and blue shift. It is similar to, say, a ambulance headed your way on a street, where it sounds higher pitched when it's heading towards you and lower pitched when it's moving away from you. Similarly, if you had a light bulb moving fast enough away from you, what you would perceive the light as having a longer wavelength. And on the electromagnetic spectrum, longer wavelengths are redder. And you go down into infrared radio waves. Now, what the James Webb Space Telescope was looks for is infrared. These are these longer wavelengths that you can't see with your eyes. But these are the wavelengths through which heat is transmitted, and everything with a temperature emits infrared radiation. And so the Webb telescope can see things that are very faint and very far away, because it's not looking for visible light in the way that you do. This infrared radiation can be very faint and still detectable. It can go through gas and dust, which would otherwise be blocked. That's why the Hubble can't see these kinds of images like the James Webb can. Okay. So, all that being said, chat, things that are further away look redder, and we expect the formation of galaxies like our own to be further along in the age of the universe, 1 to 2 billion years. Now, these red dots, which are the subject of today's, and if I garbled a lot of that intro, it's because I'm not an expert. Wildly Coyote with the 499, the edge of our universe is a singularity at the beginning of the universe. The expansion is all on the inside of that singularity. Ooh. Now, researchers from the University of Boulder in the United States, where my brother went for college, actually, looked into the night sky near the Big Dipper, an uninteresting, quote unquote, part of the sky with the James Webb Space Telescope, the time they had allotted or the data that was allotted to them. And they saw these bright red, relatively speaking, bright red dots. This means that they are very far away indeed, but they're really bright, which indicates that they have a lot of mass. There's a lot of something in that area. In fact, when the researchers looked into it, let me get the exact number here. Yes, so these red dots are apparently huge according to the measurements, harboring tens to hundreds of billions of sun-sized stars. These galaxies are on par with the Milky Way's size, our galaxy. The researcher says, quote, "This is bananas." Why? Because it's far enough away to be in the timeline of the universe in its evolution $500 to 700 million years after the Big Bang. Now recall, chat, that if our model of the inflationary universe says that galaxies shouldn't have been able to form, there wasn't enough stars and enough stars to come together to make galaxies in the evolution of our universe until 1 to 2 billion years after the Big Bang, this is half that age. That would mean our theory, our predictions, wouldn't include these galaxies. It'd be way off. 1 to 2 billion years? Up to 4 times as wrong? Because of these little dots? Now, I want to read a quote from one of the researchers because they have good quotes on this one. These objects are way more massive than anyone expected, says a professor of astronomy and astrophysics at Penn State. We only expected to find tiny, young baby galaxies at this point, but we've discovered galaxies as mature as our own in what was previously understood to be the dawn of the universe. These galaxies, the size of our own, formed when the universe was only 3% of its current age. This is our first glimpse back this far, so it's important that we keep an open mind about what we're seeing. While the data indicates that they are likely galaxies, I think there's a real possibility that a few of these objects turn out to be obscured supermassive black holes. Regardless, the amount of mass we discovered means that the known mass in stars at this period of our universe is up to 100 times greater than we had previously thought. Even if we cut this sample in half, that is an astounding change. We've been informally calling these objects universe breakers, and they have lived up to their name so far. Mason Smith with the 2. If the universe stopped expanding, would it implode? That is not one of the currently postulated ends of the universe. The most likely end of the universe, according to the physics as we know them today, is that the universe will keep expanding and expanding and expanding, faster and faster and faster, until at some point everything gets so far away from each other that stars won't be able to form, even molecules won't be able to come together. And then, with nothing new forming, no new stars being born, everything will get so cold that everything just, quote unquote, dies. That's the heat death of the universe. Everything gets far enough away that no complex interactions can happen anymore. Now, a lot of you were saying in the chat before we got to this this can upend everything if this is correct. Or, this will radically change everything we know about the universe. And I just want to point out that science doesn't really work like that. I know people who I know people like to point out, we're like, well, there were times where everything we knew was wrong. Well, not really. You talk about Galileo, Copernicus, etc., etc. I just want to point out that even if this is a valid measurement that requires us to change our theories, or inspect the data further, it is extremely unlikely that any observation like this is going to change everything. And that's because at this point, we know so much about the universe, and we have so many experiments and measurements, validated theories and observations, that is extremely unlikely that any single observation or any one object will change all of that. Because changing all of that would mean we have been radically incorrect about most of our stuff that this built towards till then. Science isn't like a house of cards, flimsy, ready to be blown over by any new piece of data. No. Science is like a mountain, sturdy at its base. While some erosion may happen at the top, wind and rain blows apart some edge cases of some theories and new ideas. To overturn an entire field of science or an entire theory, you need evidence that can move a mountain, so to speak. And that is difficult. Hold on, let me stretch while you're working on this metaphor, says Tactical. It came together fine. I was trying to have a quotable moment, Tactical. Damn. So, we do not have a conclusion to this story. Not yet. They have to look at the spectroscopy, the kinds of light coming from these objects. What is it? What is its constituents? What is it made of? In order to validate the observations. These could still be supermassive objects like black holes, quasars, which are like neutron stars. And that could be messing with this observation. But if these galaxies, in fact, do exist, we will have to work hard on integrating them into our currently understood theories, or we have to change some aspect of our models of the early universe. That will take time. That will take further observations. That will take peer review, etc., etc., etc. And I know, like, the headlines you'll see about this, and the headline or the title of this live stream is kind of sounds like the engineer who says, well, bees shouldn't be able to fly. But they do. You know. And so when I say, or people say, these galaxies shouldn't exist. Yeah, but they do, though. That is a failure on our part, not nature's, right? So, that is where we stand. The universe, the dawn of time expanded out in all directions. Older stuff is further away. As the universe evolved, cooled down enough for atoms to come together, stars were born as they accumulated mass and mass and mass, and fusion ignited at their centers. Galaxies began to form via the gravitational effect of many of these stars. And then larger clusters formed, etc., etc. It took a long time for this to happen. We think 1 to 2 billion years, except we look back with our new $10 billion telescope into the early universe and found galaxies that are there much earlier than all of our models would say. That is interesting, and the only solution is more science, chat. Chat, I was worried that I was rambling a little bit at the beginning there with how I was thinking about the universe. I don't know. It was just... I never considered us... it's a different conception than when you look at those infographics. It looks like the progression of the universe is moving like away from us, where really the oldest stuff is the furthest away. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm a little scatterbrained today. I don't know. Abdul Qadim, I love your channel. I'm an assistant professor. Welcome. It's crazy how slow light is, says James Huffman. That's not even wrong. It's the fastest. So I tried... Chat, did you notice? I was trying to build upon... you start with your basic knowledge and you build upon it until you reach a conclusion. It's kind of a Feynman-esque way of doing it. That's... I'm kind of talking shop here, but that's different in a science communication perspective than just telling you something. I want you to understand something, or why a conclusion is a natural extension of which it is predicated on. Did everything start to exist at the same time? Says Gustavo Rampazzo with the $2. So it depends on what you mean, Gustavo. The Big Bang theory Bazinga postulates that the universe all started at the same time. But everything inside the universe didn't start at the same time. That's the point. That's the time evolution of the universe. And when I say... Like, it was literally the case that in the early universe, things were too hot and too close together to form anything stable. And it wasn't until the universe expanded and got colder that normal celestial processes that, as we understand them, could start happening. Do you think we're the only universe? Says Philly 3000. I'm not... I have no expertise in that regard. But from the experts that I listen to, like my friend Sean Carroll, theoretical physicist Sean Carroll, he thinks the multiverse is an acceptable conclusion from quantum mechanics. So chat, while I remember, 3 years ago, I left a salaried science person job doing Because Science at Nerdist, and it was the scariest, hardest thing that I had ever done up until that point. I got so stressed out that I had to go on medication. I didn't know if I was going to be able to support myself. That was 3 years ago today, and I want to sincerely say thank you for joining me for the last 3 years on this ride. I'm not stopping now, baby, but I just want to show or at least tell you my appreciation for those who have been with me that whole time, or even just this is your first time today. I think we have done something genuinely interesting here at the facility. I think we have made our mark on the science communication landscape. I think this style and substance of what we're doing here is something that maybe other people will emulate, or at least think of when they think of good educational content. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. for being here. And I mean that sincerely. I can't do... I have... There's no safety net here, chat. And I have my good days and my bad days just like everyone else, but I have a very lucky life. And you all are a part of that. So, just want to say thank you. Thanks for being here. And there's much more to come, Stop being so mushy. Chef Julie B with the 5. Happy you covered this. I don't have experience with science journals and I was drowning in the data. Should be cool to see what's found. Yeah, Chef, I looked at the paper itself, which is like a preprint, and it's very dense. And you don't really need to know the specifics in this case. Skylar P with the 15. It's unfathomable. That's a very hard word for me to say. I've never been able to say it right. Unfathomable. That humans, being so infinitesimally small compared to this size of the rest of the universe, can figure out these answers about the emergence of reality itself. Will we find these answers? Skylar, the cool part about science is that it's as removed as possible from the idiosyncrasies of the human existence, right? Science as a process, when done quote-unquote correctly, it doesn't matter who you are, when you are, how rich you are, what you look like, what language you speak, who your parents are, you should come to the same conclusions. And so, like we said in that metaphor that took me a little while, give me a break, we build this mountain of knowledge together. Every centimeter of elevation makes it harder to go back down, harder to move that mountain. So 100 years from now, the mountain will be bigger and more sturdy. And that's how we approach grand questions. Not from scratch, but by building knowledge progressively into something more and more sturdy and resistant to overturning. Wildly Coyote with another 5. Thank you for bringing science to the masses, especially with regards to nuclear energy and radiation. Keep it up. New Half-Life history this week, I think so, chat. Another orphan source disaster, like the Goiânia, Brazil disaster. And I think it's a good one. I just finished writing the next Half-Life history for next month. And it's going to be a little bit of a different style. But I think you're going to like it. And guess what, chat? I'm just going to drop this bomb on you real quick and then get on to Rissa here. I'm booking flights to Fukushima this week. Rissa Thomas with the 5. What got you into science? I was always a nerdy kid, Rissa. And I guess I was in a well-off enough family that they could support me in my curiosity. So I went to very good schools. But what got me into science was I don't know, there's a few signposts, really. I mean, Mythbusters was a big one. Early Bill Nye's big one. But I've always been, the kid who's building Legos, looking for bugs, playing a dinosaur CD-ROM on repeat, and then when I got to school, I decided that's exactly what I wanted to do. And if you told me, 20 years ago, that I would be able to text Adam Savage for coffee like I did this morning, and he's like, sure, can't wait to see you, I would have said, get out, you're silly. But through all of you and your help in building up this nerdy edifice with me, I don't know, we've come a long way, Rissa. That's all I can say. I've always been nerdy, but you've helped me come a long way. Nestor Zaropoulos, thank you for doing what you do to help me through tough times. Any cool sciencey tattoo ideas? Get the trails from a bubble chamber. Just look up bubble chamber particle trails. Kiara Murphy with the 5. G'day from Australia. Can you do your best Aussie accent? Kiara Murphy with the 5. G'day from Australia, mate. Can you do your best Aussie accent? I sure can, you legend. Come on now. Kiara. Sir Winter Ryan says, Sim for science, mate! With the Australian $5. I love how many Aussies are in the chat. I don't know what it is about. I think it's probably because I look like a Hemsworth, or that I surf, or a combination of the two. But I love all the Aussies in the chat, I do. Anyway, yeah, going to Fukushima. I'm going to Fukushima. The Fukushima power plant, which is hard to get into. Trust me. The Fukushima Daiichi exclusion zone. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's going to be like a 10-day trip, and we're going to make something amazing out of it, I'm sure. Aaron Sutton with a 10. Appreciate it, buddy. Are you moving there, Kyle? Says Neckbeard Prime, the ultimate of neckbeardery. No. David Ryan, thank you for the 5. Yeah, it's going to be something else. I'm going to approach it in a similar way to Chernobyl, where I want to bring I want to have a larger narrative to it, you know, so it's like a multi-part video of like the overview of it. But I also want to get smaller stories out of it, and hopefully, you know, at a place like Hiroshima, I'm sure I can get something historical, Half-Life history-y from it. Definitely. Hey Coyle, how's your New Zealand accent? This is Brandon's mule. I'd say it's pretty good. Yeah, so that would be really cool. I'm going with a scientist who's studying plant genetics of plants that have been affected by radiation. The kinds of cool stuff that we're going to see is like literally studying the genetic makeup of plants that are still standing from the bomb that was dropped. Rissa, your question wasn't a silly question. No, not at all. Why are your monitors so small? It says Kakash F. You're incorrect. My monitors, this thing's 75 inches. What you're forgetting is that I'm huge. That's good regular sized coffee from a regular sized mug. Is Kyle's dream job working at the LHC? Says Francis Ty. What would my dream job be? I mean, I'm doing it, really. I'm doing my dream job. But if I had to go back to school, I think I'd probably do nuclear engineering. Probably. Elias K with the 5. Can we get another round of radioactive puppies from Fukushima this time? I love that part of your Chernobyl series. I don't know if there's wild puppies in the exclusion zone in Japan. I'll film them. But now that you say that, we did end up raising $50,000 for the puppies of Chernobyl, and I can confirm some point in the future, I don't know when, that we will be going back to Chernobyl and we will see the puppies again, and or I will get additional footage from the Clean Futures Fund and I will update you on their well-being, and hopefully what all of you who helped me raise all that money, we can get an update on what all of you have been able to do for them. You know, more food, shelters being built, vaccination programs, etc., etc. So we will get another update. I just don't know when, because it's hard to, well, it's dangerous to go to Ukraine right now, obviously, and so much so that the CFF doesn't tell anyone when they go. You know, they've already gone during wartime, but they didn't tell anybody, and you can't. So it's, and then to get some, you know, nerd like me just tagging along with the camera, it's harder to do that, you know. Were there any cats in Chernobyl too? Says G Dickey. There's stray cats around. There's a lot of cats in the nearby cities, like the Atomgrad of Slavutic, which is built to house all the workers who would stay working at the power plant and cleaning it up, etc., etc. 4,000 of them, minimum. There's a lot of stray cats in Slavutic, and that's where I stayed. But in the exclusion zone, I didn't see one cat, and that's because it's wilderness, in the woods. You know, there's wild dogs, as you saw. I mean, there's bears, coyotes, wolves. You know, so I don't think there's as many cats straight up in the woods, but in the towns, yes. Vlad Lonel Botes, with a cool avatar image and 55 euros, which is more valuable than American money. I've been with you for every video you made in the last 6 years, and you are doing so great. Keep it up, and more Joker voice or not, your choice, Kyleman. What do you mean Galaxies shouldn't exist? Says Juan Juarez. Juan, I have good news. See that little bar? Click it. Click the bar like here. Just like click, like go straight down from my enormous finger. And just click there. In your humble opinion, is the derailment in Ohio much more deadly or harmful than 3 Mile Island, says Atomic Candyman? I would say that both the Ohio train derailment and 3 Mile Island are more public relations disasters than actual disaster. Well, I shouldn't say actual disasters, but than public health crises. If you want to see a 40-minute video from me about what really happened at 3 Mile Island, you can go back to the channel and check that out. But no one in my investigation and in many studies that were done of people after 3 Mile Island, there is a good chance that not a single person got cancer or any other radiation-induced effect from 3 Mile Island. Not a single person. Not one. So, 3 Mile Island is remembered as a disaster because the public reception was so taken over by fear of radiation generally. So I deem it more of a communication disaster. I would say the Ohio train derailment is getting to be the same way, where the actual data, which we went through last week on Office Hours, the actual data says that the contamination levels are below anything that would cause real long-term disaster for the people there. But because it's a talking point and it has political ramifications, etc., etc., in your head it's a giant disaster. But I would not say it is a health crisis. Do you play any instruments? Says Nate Drake. Yes, I play the electric guitar, and I'm pretty good at it. Are you a programmer, Kyle? No. I pay Kevins to do that. Liz Calvert with a 20. Welcome back, Liz. My Tiny Humans question of the week. Say hello to Alex for me, please. Why do people get grumpy when they're hungry? Mom says it's called being hangry. I'm proud of you, Alex. Proud of you and your hair. I don't know. Why do people get angry when they're hungry? I mean, I suppose it's just, you know, a neurophysiological way of indicating to you that you need to eat something, I guess. Like getting thirsty. You know, maybe getting angry when you're hungry is like getting thirsty. You know? It's just an added component of what your body does to remind you to eat. I don't know. Olivier Gagnon with the Canadian $6.99. Sounds like a Quebecois name. Olivier, also with a complicated question, is entropy only about energy, or does it take into account proximity? Like a massive star is more organized than the same matter and energy when dispersed in a huge nebula? Entropy only says things tend towards disorder. And so, by definition, a star in a almost perfectly spherical shape that is doing a process of fusion, that is a more organized concentration of energy than something diffuse like a nebula, right? I'm trying to think of an analogy of that. It's like the difference between, you know, a burning log and the fire. You know what I mean? How old is the universe then, says Cracker Barrel Kid 69. What a name. The observable universe is around 13 billion years old, looking back all the way to the cosmic microwave background radiation, as we talked about. But that's the observable universe. We don't know. We can't see what's beyond it. Are you excited for the new Elden Ring expansion? This is Nathan Dempsey. I haven't been playing Elden Ring at all, because we've been making our way through Atomic Heart, which I think we'll be playing again this week. It's a very well designed, interestingly designed game that I have fun playing. And there's so much science in it, but it's so horny, chat. I'm a legend on Hearthstone. How easily will I school you at Magic? Says Nick Beard Prime. Depends on what we play. I've been playing Magic for 20 years, so. I'm willing to concede a round Earth, but I refuse to be swayed from my flat soul theory, says Stephen Smith. You know that, like, eclipses would look different, right? And, like, you could, like, easily... Infinite Ryu! With the New Zealand $10, generations in the future will resent us not having just fast-tracking nuclear decades ago. Still having the talk about it. The debate is really over. Wind and solar can't cover it. Says Infinite Ryu from New Zealand, who I'm definitely not offending with this little bit of accent. Ashley Ramos with a $4.99. I've been following you since the Because Science and Musquatch dates, and I'm so proud of you. Truly admire you for doing what you love. Ashley, don't make me cry on stream. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate it. Musquatch isn't fun anymore, Chad. That's why we stopped doing it in the first place. Years ago. It just got weird, you know. As he became more and more of a public loser. Like responding to your own crappy memes on Twitter, like replying to your own crappy memes on Twitter being like, crazy how true this is. Okay, Space Karen, we get it. Liz Calvert with the 20. Grandma got me a guitar for my birthday. Is it hard to learn? How long did it take you to learn? How do I stay interested? Says Alex, Tiny Human Alex. Tiny Human Alex, if you want to get into guitar, set yourself a goal. I want to learn. I know people that literally just like, I want to learn how to play Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne. How do I get there? Find a song that you really want to play, and then figure out how far you have to progress to start making inroads on that goal. Whether that's learning the chords, learning to move your fingers correctly. So pick a goal, and then there are many ways to get towards that goal. Does Adam still have his one wheel, says Neckbeard Prime? Yes. So, chat, I hope I haven't been rambling too much. I tend to ramble when caffeinated. And I'm sure that I have said things that are incorrect so far today. But if you want to correct me, you can join the facility here. Help me pay for this light. That light. Patreon.com/Kyle Hill. The facility versus Black Mesa. Who wins the softball games? To Skylar P. Do you know what? The fact that Atomic Heart has something called a facility, or the facility, with sexy robots in it, I'm suing them. Kyle, what is the best method for ingesting DMT? Come on, Jack. What hair conditioner do you use? R & Co. R and Company. Olivier Gagnon. Again, thank you for support, buddy. $13.99. I hope my quick explanation of entropy made sense. Anything that is more organized as a system will tend to become less organized. But that doesn't mean that complex things can't emerge in the universe. Like you. The most mind-blowing thing about the complexity entropy thing that I remember hearing from my friend Sean Carroll, again, theoretical physicist at Caltech, science advisor on Thor. In regards to complexity, maybe you're not thinking about it deeply enough. Isn't life just a very efficient way of creating entropy? People who don't understand or don't think about the theory deeply enough would say, well, if everything tends towards disorder, how can you have galaxies or human bodies? The Earth must be flat! Or whatever crazy stuff they say. Well, isn't life just very efficient entropy creation? We take in complicated stuff, like food, and we turn it into heat. You are a machine of entropy. Think about it. Birds are not real, says Jeff McNally. Yeah, where do birds even go when it's raining? Slowly oxidizing away, chat. You and me. How many little people can you fit in your beard? Chat, so, coming up at the facility, we just had a video about Atomic Heart. I think we will also be playing more of Atomic Heart and trying to conquer its horrendous dialogue. Friday at the same time, I think. Also this week, if you're not subscribed to the channel, you might want to subscribe to the channel, because we have a new Half-Life history coming out, a new story about an orphan source disaster, much like what happened in Goiânia, Brazil. This is one of the more famous ones. I'd say there's two famous orphan source disasters in nuclear history. This is the other one. And I think you're going to like it. It's 20 or so minutes of sober, somewhat disturbing nuclear history with a success story at the end of it. After that, I just wrote another Half-Life history about something that happened, a piece of nuclear history, disaster history as I consider it, that happened just 2 or 3 months ago, Chad. I'm actively trying to grow the facility and all you nerds who get past my laser bees somehow. So I want to do more Half-Life histories, more produced evergreen content, as we call it, to bring in more and more of you. So we're going to be focusing more and more on Half-Life histories going forward. Is there a public Discord? No. It's behind the blast doors. Blast doors prevent against blast, chat. When I grew up with Star Wars and stuff, I always thought that blast doors protected against, like, the heat or the material from an explosion, right? But that's not what blast doors do. They literally protect against the pressure blast wave. Of course, as you know, a blast wave is at least 194 decibels. And that blast wave can rattle the interior of your body, make your lungs bleed so you drown in your own blood. So you want something to stop that wave. You can do that with big doors.
But Kyle, wouldn't that mean that the blast shield that Luke puts down on his helmet doesn't make any sense because he's already in a cockpit?
Yeah. When would you ever... You know what I'm talking about? The blast helmet? There's like,
With the blast shield down, how can I see? How am I supposed to fight? Ugh.
you know he puts that down and you just can't see and it's supposed to be a flight helmet, right? When would you ever use that? UV light exposure? This is Amy Soika. You can just close your eyes. My point being, if fighter pilots don't need one, why would Luke need one? If it's a blast wave to protect against a blast, there's no air in space. You don't get a blast wave in space. And we know this because we've detonated nukes in space before and you don't get a blast wave. So what is Luke's helmet protecting against, chat? Even if there was a medium in space, if the cockpit shatters, you're dead anyway. Presumably, it's like a welder's helmet. Why would you want that when you are flying at 1.5 fast light speed? Do we have footage of space nukes? Says Chef Julie B. Yes. Type in Operation Starfish Prime. I think it's Starfish Prime. But Operation Starfish, you'll see we have footage of a nuke detonating in the upper atmosphere. Holy, it's real Thor, says F. Hayes. I'm rambling now, chat. Are you enjoying it? What else is wrong in movies, huh? You are the wind beneath my wings, says B. Sod. Calm down, will you? Maybe the flash of the light is so bright, maybe you need one. Another problem with that, chat, is that light moves at the speed of light. Citation needed. And there is no way you would be able to react in real time to, say, a nuclear explosion in space. You would have to know that it's going to happen at some time and then put a blast shield down to protect your eyes. You know? But even then, they should have some space material that could protect your eyes. Like the goggles we used in the 50s to look at a nuclear explosion up close with our own eyeballs. Why not just have a material like that so you can still see while you're flying a dang spaceship? How thick is the glass on spaceships? Says Gustavo Rampazzo. Thick? I don't know. I don't know how offhand how thick the windows on the Coppola, on the Sofia Coppola are on the International Space Station. I don't know. But they have to be thick enough, chat. They have to be substantial, at least, because in space, when things are going at orbital velocity, many kilometers per second, even a speck of paint, a fleck of paint, is basically a bullet. It's got extreme kinetic energy. Kilometers per second, that's faster than a bullet. And so even a tiny piece of spacecraft hitting a window that wasn't sufficiently TIHCC thick could spell disaster. It's happened before. Doesn't our atmosphere block a lot of the sun? So if you're in space, wouldn't the light be brighter as there's nothing between you and the source of light? Refraction or something similar? Says New Ontari's at the 999. Yeah, only a fraction of the intensity of the sun's energy gets to the surface of the Earth. About 1,000 watts per square meter, I think. I think so. And you're right, it is attenuated by the atmosphere. But what you'd be really worried about in space isn't the visible light itself. It would be the ultraviolet light and other forms of radiation that aren't being blocked.
The main maketh the man.
Says KG Solomon. Would you consider mud wrestling Kim.com? Chat, we've gone over time. I just wanted, 3-year channel anniversary. I just wanted to make sure that you made sure that I know, that you know that I know how much you mean to me. I have the best job in the world, the best audiences in the world. You nerdy bunch. I get to wake up every day knowing that I can try my best to educate and entertain all of you, and it's humbling and honoring. One of my professors in the chat sent me a photo. She got what I'm about to say tattooed on her body. On their body. Sorry. I'm honored and humbled by all of you. I am. And if you want to interact with me for some reason, in a more substantial way, that's patreon.com/Kyle Hill. Videos early, private Discord, members only live streams. Holy crap. I'm supposed to do one of those today, aren't I? This is the end of the month. Oops. That's what happens when I don't check my calendars. So all you professors in the chat, I guess we'll be doing a state of the facility stream in the next 2 hours or so. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being here for 3 years. No matter where I see you next time, next live stream, next gaming stream, next Half-Life history, next main video where I'm silly, be nice to each other. Because this is all we got. I'll see you soon. Hope you learned something today.